Okay, and it goes something like this. Okay, together we see a world where people unite.
So it looks like their internet connection just went down.
All in a day's work, huh, Peter?
Yeah. We're having ongoing problems with the Wi-Fi in the ballroom, and
Well, I think the
they are
Wi-Fi is back up
gone.
because I have live video coming through.
Oh, wait a minute. There it is. I see it. They are muted. Ask them to unmute.
Yeah, but I don't hear anyone. I don't have any voice.
Yeah, they're muted. Let me call Russ.
This is like watching an old time movie.
Oh, they're muted.
I wanted to give you some thoughts from various people on Earth Day. President John F. Kennedy said, "The supreme reality of our time is the vulnerability
down for a
of our
while.
planet." Chief Dan George from the
All right,
city
you're
of
back up now.
Washington Nation,
You came back up just as I called.
off the coast, they're on the coast of Canada, said, Chief Dan George said, "We are all part of Mother Earth. She sustains us, and we must sustain her in return." Wendell Berry said, "The earth is what we all have in common." And an ancient Native American proverb says, which you probably have heard this before, "We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children." And lastly, President Barack Obama said, "We are the first generation to feel the impact of climate change. We are the last generation that can do something about it." That's my thought for the day.
Nice.
Yeah. So I just want to say quickly about the Environment Committee. We're always welcoming new participants in that. I think we've had a great year. You know, working with Gordon, we were able to do our tree planting days. We did 2 of them. We also, the board and the Environment Committee approved funding for a water trailer and a tank so that plants that have been planted can be watered through the dry season. And that was a gift to the Oakland Park and Rec Foundation to do that work. And then, of course, we've had a couple of environmental speakers. So we have a lot of work going forward. We would welcome your participation. So please join us. And thank you to all who have helped with the environment this year. Okay. Yeah.
All right, we're very lucky to have someone like Dr. Joel Parrott at the helm of that committee. Today, we have the distinct privilege of inducting 3 new members. Okay, so thank you. So Rowena Brown, sponsored by Keith Uriarte, Michael Johnson, and Rich Harrison. They are sponsored by Isaac Koss-Reed. Keith, would you please introduce our newest member by providing 2 interesting facts about Rowena? And if
Thank you, President Tom. Isaac Koss-Reed, Membership Committee Chair, and we're actually co-sponsoring, which turns out can be done, as many of you veteran Rotarians know. Keith and I are co-sponsoring Rowena Brown. We're very excited to be doing that. I will start with sort of a general background on this amazing person. So, President Tom, Rotarians, today we introduce Rowena Brown as Oakland Rotary's newest member. Rowena was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's alumni of Peralta Community Colleges and Mills College, where she obtained her BA in political science. And she's been a real advocate for social change ever since she was a student. She was the vice president and social justice and diversity chair for the Board of Trustees at Mills. And she was awarded the 2019 Changemaker of the Year award for her dedication to teaching the importance of civic engagement to youth in Oakland Public Schools. During the pandemic, Rowena worked for the city of Oakland, and she has served as a local community advocate and campaign manager for many local and state officials. Speaking of which, she's currently the district director for Assemblymember Mia Bonta, and most recently a class of 2023 graduate of the University of California School of Law in San Francisco. Rowena is passionate about creating and uplifting legislation that serves to radically eliminate the inequities in public school education, healthcare, employment, and issues related to environmental justice like the ones Joel was just talking about. And with that, I'm going to hand it to Keith.
So 2 random facts about Rowena. While in law school, Rowena drafted legislation that advances civics education in public schools. Currently, she is working on a bill, AB 2851, that will reduce air pollution in West Oakland and across California. She is a huge sports fan. She plays basketball, baseball, women's tackle football, soccer, tennis, and golf. Look out, Dudley. She proudly thanks her dad for instilling her in the love of sports. President Tom, Rotarians, guests, please welcome our newest Rotarian, Rowena Brown.
Jason, are you photographing at the end? Okay, we'll keep it running. We're on a schedule. President Tom reminds me. Okay, next up we have our newest Rotarian, who was born and raised in Osaka, Japan, and is a lifetime educator. He began as a teacher in New York City schools, then went to lead a couple of charter schools in Denver, and then later ran a charter school organization serving as their chief academic officer in Dallas before 3 years ago arriving in East Oakland to lead Lighthouse Community Public Schools, which of course many of us know. Rich Harrison is the CEO of Lighthouse, lives in the community with his wife and 2 young daughters, and is deeply really committed. Like I've not seen anybody like him who has just delved into the community in multiple ways, including without any prompting, pushing me to sponsor him into this amazing club of Rotarians. So with that, 2 important little facts. If you don't see him doing something in education, he's in his garage pumping iron. That's his passionate self-care routine. And he's a total music freak, starting every month by curating playlists of about 20 to 30 albums of about 700 to 800 songs every month on Spotify. So check him out. Rich Harrison, give it up. Yeah, Rich and Lighthouse have a lot of friends in the room. We know that. Speaking of friends in the room, this next Rotarian I'm very excited about. I met him earlier, late last year, and we really hit it off. Michael Johnson was born in Mississippi and came out west with his mother and siblings when he was 3, and has called Oakland home for the last 33 years, where he resides with his wife, Katrina, and young elementary school daughter. He has worked in multiple Oakland and San Francisco mid-sized law firms, then started his own firm, and then spent 18 years as in-house expert counsel for AT&T and Warner Media. He has since served in many volunteer capacities and is truly an exciting new member. He most recently ran for judge here in Alameda County. And 2 interesting facts about Michael: he absolutely loves to travel. And I better get my notes out for the second one here, because it was very exciting. Oh yes, this is a stick in my brain. Amateur Formula One fan. Favorite driver is Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton, number 44 Team Mercedes, and starting 2025, Team Ferrari. Give it up for Michael Johnson. Yes, a standing ovation for all these new Rotarians. Thank you.
All right, so we're almost, we need to give you some gifts now. So each of you, all right, so that is your new red badge, and that signifies you as a new member of our club. You will also receive in these bags. So you will also receive the 4-way test, which guides Rotarians in their daily lives as follows. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? That's our 4-way test. You'll receive our Rotary Made Easy handbook, which provides you useful information about our club and a club directory with 300 of your newest best friends. Also included is your Rotary pin. And with this pin, you can wear it proudly, and you can attend any club around the world. So there are thousands of clubs around the world, and they're going to trip out when they see that you're from number 3. You will also receive our centennial book that documents our club's history over the past 100 years, written by our fabulous own Linda Hamilton. And your commitment as a new member is to attend meetings, virtually or in person, to participate in one or more of our committees. We have over 30 committees, and practice service above self and contribute both to the Rotary Endowment and the Rotary Foundation. It is my privilege and distinct pleasure to induct all of you as our newest members of our Rotary Club. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Thank you. All right, so we have a district training that's in process right now. There's some information on your tables about it, and there's still a few sessions left that are valuable. There's one tonight that looks really interesting. And if you're part of a committee or you want to learn more, these are excellent trainings to attend. They're online, and more information is available on the district website. Also, at the end of the month, we have our district conference in San Jose, and so they still have some hotel rooms available at the Hilton Hayes Mansion, and registration is still open. As you know, or you might have heard, we have a couple of award winners in our club, and I'm not big on participation trophies, but I love winning awards. Not that I've won very many, but it's nice to be recognized for something you work hard for. And Ed Jelen is one of those people who's being recognized by Rotary International, not just our district. Our district nominated Ed for this award. And Ed will be receiving the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service. And so each district only gets one nominee, and Ed, you are the nominee for the district. So let's give Ed a big round of applause. Stand up. So one of the things I love about Ed is he is so approachable, and I've heard just from so many of you how welcome he made you feel as a guest or a new member. And so I use Ed as an example of our club, and Ed was a federal judge. He commanded a lot of respect outside in his courtroom and outside in his public life. But inside Rotary, we just know him as Ed, who likes Johnny Walker Black Label. Double black, okay. So, but Ed, this award, exemplifies your outstanding service to the district and to Rotary International, and also as serving as our centennial president and our district's district governor. So if you would kindly share a few words, Ed.
Thank you, President Tom, and thank you all for the generous words you spoke to me earlier today. I am very flattered and feel very honored. When I found out about this award, I was in a district foundation committee meeting, and someone congratulated me, and I said, "For what?" And they said, "Don't you know?" I said, "Don't I know what? What's this? What's about?" And told me I had won this RI citation for meritorious service. So I feel very honored and gratified, as I said before. Also, one thought that crossed my mind when I did learn about this award was the fact that I probably would not have gotten it had I not come from a club that is so generous to the Rotary Foundation, so generous to the world in terms of the projects that we all participate in and help fund. And so, President Tom, in honor of this club, I would like to ring the bell 10 times, please. Let's see, the last time I did this was 2015 when I was finishing up my year as president, so I hope I still remember.
Good rhythm.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, Mr. Seth Butner.
Mr. Seth Butner.
I'd like to ring the bell for Ed Jellin, the greatest Rotarian we have left.
That was one.
I'd like to ring the bell for Ed Jellin.
Will Hobbs.
Thank you, sir. Hold on, they're not making me walk. I love these guys.
I'd like to ring the bell for Ed Jellin.
Merlin Edwards.
Good job.
I'd like to ring the bell for my good friend and inspiration, Ed Jellin. And I'd also like to acknowledge Isaac wearing a Paul Harris Fellow medallion in his honor.
All right, Joe Gorelka, thank you. Dudley Thompson.
Fred.
Fred Morris. Jack McAvoy. Oh, Ed Jellin. All right, thank you, Jack McAvoy.
Hello, Eddie.
All right, we got Rick Draper in the back.
Good job, Rick. Anybody else?
Anyone else?
Oh, Robert Kidd, everybody. Good
Robert
job,
Kidd.
Robert Kidd. Can't just stay in one place?
Alex Paulson. All right.
Great.
Who's over there?
Oh,
All right, Isaac Cosby.
he'll split it with you, Mary.
Okay. We're running a little behind, but that's well worth it. This is a very special honor, and we have another special honor to present. Christine Watson, are you here? If you could help me with this. We are going to recognize some new Paul Harris Fellows. So we're just, so since we're running a little short on time, if we could have Julie Fox, Jason Weiselman, Bob Breeker, Anna Marie Jones, John Clausen, Will Hobbs, Ramona Chang, Robert Kidd, Dave Cannon, Marin Amdel, I don't think she's here, Greg Annis, and Mona Hall. Okay. And then also we have a couple of additions, is that right? Is Pat Williams or Linda Bradford here? Okay, all right. So the Paul Harris recognition is related to a financial contribution to Rotary International, which really helps our work around the world and makes a tremendous impact. And just to be clear, we also recognize not just your treasure, but we value your time and talent. And so this is a very special occasion for all these members, and congratulations on your new Paul Harris status, or upgraded Paul Harris. Okay, thank you all, thank you all. So Seth Butner, you have an announcement.
Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing today? As president of, we've been mentioning the RI Foundation. Now we're going to mention our foundation, Oakland Rotary Endowment. As president of Oakland Rotary Endowment, and as required by paragraph 2.3 of our bylaws, I'd like to open our annual meeting for the Oakland Rotary Endowment, our philanthropic arm of the Rotary Club of Oakland. This year, in addition to a successful gala and fundraising efforts, as well as oversight of the management of your funds, we have been concentrating on financial growth and cleaning up our financials. To give a report on the financial status, Pam Clausen, are you here? Yes, Pam. Pam Clausen.
I am happy to report that the Oakland Rotary Endowment is in good shape. As most of you know, ORE, through the great results that Carrie will report, along with the earnings on our endowment, funds our committee activities, grants, and contributes to the operational costs of the club. As of March 31st, we have $170,000 in the bank, which is enough liquidity to carry us through the end of the year. We still have a work in process on our receivables, $90,000. You'll be getting statements in the next week or so. And something to celebrate, the actual balance in the endowment changes every day, right, the market, but $4.8 million. So if you add that up, that means the assets in the foundation exceed $5 million. The actual revenue for the first 9 months, which is the bulk of the revenue based on the timing for the year, is almost $300,000, and our expenses are in line with the budget. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you for that report, Pam. As you can see, our trustees, thank you for the management of the funds and the growth to meet our $5 million goal that we have, threshold. I'd like to recognize all of our trustees for this great year we had. Vice President Kim Johnson was our treasurer, Pam Clausen, our secretary, our treasurer, and secretary was Kimberly Miller, and trustee designees were President Tom, President-elect Shannon, past President Mary, and ORC Treasurer Keith Giron. Trustees Steve Blair, Carrie Hamill, Marilyn Edwards, and outgoing trustees whose terms end June 30th, 2024, the aforementioned Kim Johnson, Ken Benson, C.J. Herscheville, and Kevin Kelly. Give them all a big hand. And now I'd like to report that the Board of Trustees met in March as required by 3.4 of our bylaws and nominated 4 candidates for the Board of Trustees to serve a 3-year term beginning July 2024 to June 30th, 2027. Those nominated and have agreed to serve were Trish Connors, Julie Fox, and Ruth Stroop, and Jason Weiselman. Having no other nominees submitted, and as required by 3.4 of our bylaws, 3.5 of our bylaws, the Board of Trustees formally submits to the club those 4 nominations for a vote for the membership of the Board of Trustees. All in favor of the nominees say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Without objection, the nominees are confirmed. Congratulations. This concludes our annual meeting of the Oakland Board of Trustees. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Seth Butner. Okay, Jesse Schmidt, you have an event tonight.
Thank you, President Tom. I am excited to announce that tonight, this evening, starting at 5:30 p.m., we are hosting our 3rd Rotary Mastermind with the theme of health, wealth, and happiness. This is going to be held at Laney College in building D200. It's right by the swimming pool. Parking is on 7th Street. It's a 2-hour event, and there are going to be 4 speakers, myself, Kathleen Uribe, President Rudy Besikoff, and also the better half, our president, Christy Johnston-Lamone. So we're excited to see business owners, Laney College students, entrepreneurs, professionals, potential Rotarians at this event. So we would love to see you there. The flyer is on the back side of your placards on your tables. If you're on Zoom, you can check out the Eventbrite or the Rotary calendar to get the information there. We look forward to seeing you tonight. Thanks.
Okay, very briefly, we have the Oakland Education Fund has sponsored several read-in events this year showcasing Hispanic and African American cultures. And John Holmgren, who leads our kinder prep, is asking for volunteers for Thursday, May 2nd at Brookfield Elementary from 12:30 to 2 p.m. And then also we have some upcoming field trips, and they could also use some volunteers on these days also. So on your table, there's John Holmgren's contact information. Please reach out to him directly. Carrie Hamill, would you please share about our recent gala?
So as you have been hearing, the Oakland Rotary Endowment did very well in this most recent cycle. It was a full tent effort by everybody in this room and everybody in Rotary. I want to particularly thank Trish Connors and Teresa Wayan, who served as co-chairs with me, and every one of the tens of hundreds of Rotarians who gave and gave and gave this year. Last year, we netted from both the ORE campaign and from the gala, we netted $164,000. This year, from those two combined, we netted $216,000. So that's a 30% improvement in our net. That's a good direction to be going. We had, at the gala affair, we had 177 people attend both years. It was exactly the same number. Just to underscore, we did some new things this year, and I hope going forward, we think about this. We started early. We worked on this for 7 months. We moved the date to March instead of May because we found that there were a zillion galas in May, and we were competing with too many. We combined the ORE campaign and the gala campaign into one campaign so that we weren't calling people asking for money in January and then calling them again in February and March and asking them for money again. It was a lot less confusing and it was more efficient. And I have to say, you know, beyond that, this is a group of community committed activists who never say no when they're asked. And we had a bench of dozens and dozens of callers who were making contact with all of the Rotarians and their friends. And then we have this group of closers, you know who you are, who make people pay when they've said they're not sure. Thank you, Sess and Tom and David Stein. You all contributed, the contributions to the live auction event were some that I've never seen. I go to a lot of these things now, and our live auction was better than anything I've seen in this area lately. So I want to thank every one of you for a really encouraging campaign of relentless generosity and camaraderie.
Tom, we got a bell ringer.
Oh, Joe Garaka.
There it is.
Wait, microphone.
Hold on, here I come.
Tom, I'd like to ring the bell 3 times. One for Carrie, one for Tricia, and one for Teresa. Excellent, John. Unbelievable.
All right, Joe Garaka, 3 times. No, they really dug deep, and it was so great to just see them in their element. I mean, these are high-performing executives who just took control and just made it look so easy. I wish the whole election chant of 4 more years would work here, but it won't. But thank you so much, Carrie, Tricia, and Teresa. Thank you so much. Okay, we had, speaking of our gala, we had one incredible gala item that did not sell. It sold, but it didn't. And so we're offering it up again for rebid today. And so it's for a specific week, the last week of June, from Wednesday to Wednesday. It's a 1-bedroom villa in Kanapali on the Maui Ocean Club. So we're gonna try to auction it here. Let's see if this works. Can I get a bid for $500?
Tom, before we do.
Yes.
We're going to open this to the folks online too, I imagine, the Zoomers.
Sure.
So how do we do that, tech team? All right, put it in your chat, Zoomers.
All right. So do we have an item at this item for $500? $500. Okay. David Stein for $500. $700. $750. All right. Can I get $900? $900. Can I get $1,100?
Getting good, people. Stick around. All right, then.
Okay. This is 7 nights at a beautiful resort. This is basically half the value. This is a quarter of the value of what it really costs. Isaac, can I get $1,000? Sure, why not? All right. David Stein, $1,100. Okay. Oh, I feel bad. All right, $1,200, Isaac.
Don't, you're a closer.
What's that? Age before beauty. Okay. Let me run it by Carrie. Carrie, is it okay to let this go at $1,100, or do we want to try? Yeah? Okay, this is a bargain, guys. This is a Christmas gift, birthday gift, anniversary gift to a loved one. $1,100 going once.
Who deserves it more than Mr. David Stein and his beautiful...
$1,100 going twice. Sold for $1,100. Thank you. Thank you so much, David and Isaac. And Isaac, I think we could have gotten a few more hundred out of him if you kept going up. Just kidding. Thank you so much. Okay, Joel Parrott, would you please introduce our speaker today?
Thank you, President Tom. Okay, we are honored today to have Gordon Matassa as our speaker today. He's the Urban Forestry Project Coordinator for the City of Oakland, where he coordinates the development of the city's equity-focused urban forest plan. He writes and manages grants to fund urban forestry work and supports volunteer tree planting projects like ours, and where I first got to meet Gordon and was invaluable to supporting the volunteer efforts of Oakland Rotary. He is the chair of the Bay Area Urban Forests Ecosystem Council, a California Urban Forest Council board member, and a committee chair for the Western chapter of the International Society of Arboriculture being trees. Gordon has a master's degree in public administration, and I consider him a great friend and a great friend to Oakland Rotary. So please give an Oakland Rotary welcome to Gordon Matassa.
Thank you so much, Joel. That was very nice of you. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. My first interaction with Rotary was actually when I was in high school in Los Angeles. I was selected to attend the Rotary Youth Leadership Award camp. And it's 25 years ago. I don't have a great memory of what it was, but I do remember the people there, the great Rotarians, and it means a lot. So it's fun to be here again. Thank you. And I'll be talking to you about our urban forest plan. I do have a PowerPoint presentation. How do I go about changing slides? Next slide? Okay, all right. Sorry, I made this in a way that I'm going to be saying next slide a lot. Apologies in advance. So, how many of you like trees? Right. How many of you think trees are essential parts of your neighborhood where you live? How many of you think trees wear capes and fight crime? Okay. I lost most of you, but thank you for those who did raise your hand. They don't actually wear capes, but they do fight crime, and so to speak. We have research studies that show that trees, or neighborhoods that have more trees in them have fewer incidences of violent crime. Trees also do great things for human health. Their studies show that people with ADHD, if you take them out in the forest, they are able to focus better. If you're stressed out, go be around trees and greenery, you'll calm down. There's even studies showing that pregnant women being around trees will have babies with higher birth weights than those who are not. There's a lot of research happening right now, just great benefits of trees. And as you can see, they do a whole bunch of other things too. They increase property value, they help commercial businesses by bringing in more people. They're habitat for wildlife and birds, and they provide jobs. Next slide. And they reduce some things too. So I just showed you the things they increase. Here's what they reduce. They reduce your utility bills because they reduce your energy usage. They help with mitigating flooding because the roots will help absorb water before it hits the streets and cause problems, which if you remember last year in 2023 when we had those big storms, we had a lot of water. They reduce the urban heat island effect. Ambient temperatures under the canopy of tree are significantly less. Some studies show as much as 25 degrees less in a hot summer day. They capture air pollution and they capture and sequester carbon, which helps with climate change. Next slide. So we understand why trees are important, how many great things they do. In the past, they were just seen as aesthetic, something nice to have in their front yard or in the park. But as time has gone on, we understand more of what they're worth. Cities have begun to see them as infrastructure. But unlike other infrastructure, trees are the only city infrastructure that actually increases in value over time. So as a tree gets larger, all those benefits I mentioned, they provide more of them. A smaller tree doesn't do much, but the bigger and more mature, the better or the more benefits it will provide us. So we call it green infrastructure. And in order to maintain something, you have to plan for it, right? Next slide. So that's why the city has gone and we've received a grant from CAL FIRE, which is the California State Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. Back in, it was a $1 million grant back in end of 2018, beginning 2019, to do an urban forest plan. And included in that, you can keep clicking, because, oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, you can go ahead and keep clicking. Yeah, so we did a tree inventory in 2020 to 2021. We planted 700 trees. We did community engagement in 2022. And then we began developing the plan and did community review in the last 2 years. Now it's all ready to take to council, and we aim to have it there this summer for them to approve. Next slide. So a little bit of background on what the urban forest plan is. It's a plan for the entire city, but it's based in equity. Equity is a key component, and I'll get more into that in future slides, but just keep that in mind. We're going to talk a lot about equity. It is based on analysis of data. So we had a tree inventory completed. That included people walking up and down every street that has a sidewalk, recording information on every tree, including what type of tree it was, the size of the tree, and then they could factor that into systems that we have that can tell you what benefits those trees provide, how much carbon it's capturing, how much it's sequestered, et cetera. The plan is based off of that data as well as what we learned from the community, what they wanted, and from urban forestry best practices. And something important about this plan is it's big picture. This is a 50-year plan, so it can't stop and look at little things. Nowhere in the plan does it tell you you should be planting sycamore trees on Broadway. That's way too granular. The plan is big picture. It's supposed to provide a framework for us as we implement it over the next 50 years. And it's going to require funding. Not a whole lot, but it will require some funding. Next slide. So I'll give you a bit of background on the plan, the outline of it. The introduction includes the process of how we went about doing it, history of the land before this was a city, then the history of Oakland as it relates to trees, and then goes in deeper into the benefits of trees that I just mentioned at the beginning. Next slide. Section 2 is on our equity-centered approach. Urban forest equity is defined there and explained, and the importance of it, especially in Oakland, is quantified there. We then get into our community engagement process and what we learn from it, including what the community wants from the city for its urban forest. Next slide. In section 3, this is where we dive into the data we collected. So like I said, we did the inventory. We also had satellite imagery taken of the city, and we're able to analyze it to see how much tree canopy we have. Next slide. Section 4 is on how the city manages its trees or doesn't manage its trees. There's a lot of details in there on things that we can do better, and I can tell you we have a lot of room for improvement. I'll be honest. Next slide. And the fifth section is on implementation. We have 9 goals, and we classified them into 3 categories. So goals related to people, goals related to policy, goals related to programs. And within that, we have about 32 strategies and 80 action items to help implement those strategies. There's a lot of work to be done. Next slide. Some of the key findings, the number of trees we have about 56,000 street trees, 12,000 trees in parks. This doesn't include parks like Joaquin Miller, because that's open space. If we had the arborists out there inspecting that, they'd probably still be there, because there's so many trees there. And then they found 29,000 potential places where street trees could go. And I say potential because they go out there and they can measure and say, oh, it looks like a tree will fit there, but you won't know until you check for utilities. Next slide. Other things we've discovered, the canopy has declined by 0.8% between 2014 and 2018. Why? We don't know exactly, but our guess is due to development and due to the fact that the city does not maintain any of its public trees. If you don't maintain something, it's going to fall apart. Next slide. A tree canopy is inequitable. You can click again. If you want, sorry, I thought I'd have a clicker so I could go through this quickly without, there we go, yeah, you can stop there, thanks. So tree canopy is inequitable. We learned that Oaklanders love trees, or they appreciate trees. We also learned from them, and we already knew that the city is not doing enough and that significant investment is needed to manage our urban forest. So there's 2 pictures here. Go to the next slide, please. So there's you can see a little bit better. That picture on the left is East 14th, or International Boulevard, also known as East 14th Street in East Oakland. You can see a few trees in the background, not a lot. Compare that to this bucolic scene of the Oakland Hills, where it looks like you're in the countryside. These are 2 very different places. There's not enough trees that we find, or not enough trees in East Oakland, but there's plenty in the hills. All right, so let's dive a little bit more into tree equity. This map on the left shows census tracts of Oakland based on and they're color-coded based on the number of trees, or the tree canopy percentage. That dark green spot you see up there on the right, that census tract has 68% tree canopy. The city average is 21.5. And if you look down closer by the airport, the census tracts around there, as low as 1.3% canopy. That's huge. The airport's never going to look like Joaquin Miller Park. We know that. We don't expect that to ever happen. But we can make headway to have the flatline neighborhoods at least meet the city average of 21.5. Now compare that to the map on the right. Can you go back one? Thanks. That map on the right is Cal EnviroScreen. That's a map put together by the state. It ranks census tracts based off of socioeconomics, human health, and pollution information. The darker the red, the higher the pollution burden. And you can see that area where there's fewer trees in Oakland, it's also the Interstate 880 corridor, has a lot more pollution. Next slide, please. And we can see that there's a historic legacy to this. You're probably familiar with redlining, the thing that happened in the 1930s where neighborhoods were ranked, those where people of color lived were ranked low, as either red, sometimes yellow. and that's where people were told not to invest. And that's where highways ended up getting put in. And that's where there's been continual disinvestment even beyond when redlining was outlawed in the 60s. So those red areas on that historic map on the right, if you compare to the map on the left, there's fewer trees there. Next slide. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about the city itself and what we do and don't do. There are a few things that we do well. We have a tree ordinance, and we have tree inventory data, which once you have data, you can start talking to the city council and to others to get money and to make progress happen. Next slide. What do we do? Emergency tree care. If a tree falls down or is threatening to fall down, any time of day, any time of night, we will come out and clean it up. No questions asked. But that's all we do. Next slide. We're falling short in our budget, staffing, training, and equipment. In 2008, in reaction to the Great Recession, City Council cut our budget and staffing in half. And because of that, next slide, because of that, we had to give up our tree planting program, our tree maintenance program, and our outreach and education, and any kind of collaboration we did. We're slowly trying to build that back up, and the Urban Forest Plan, if it is approved and funded, we will be able to do more. So some key recommendations that come out of the plan is obviously to address inequity. That's a huge part of the plan. I would say equity is a cornerstone of everything that went into making this plan. Set a canopy goal of no net loss. So what that means is we're not trying to necessarily increase the number of trees, at least at this point in time. That's something we could look at in the future perhaps, but right now just to prevent losing any more canopy, which means planting about 6,000 trees a year, and that would cost around $7 million. Restore a tree pruning program, because if you don't take care of trees, they're gonna fall down and fail and you lose them. And as I said in the beginning, trees are green infrastructure. The older and bigger they are, the more benefits they provide. So we want to preserve what we have because those are providing us more benefits than the small little trees that are getting planted now. So we need to plant more trees, support the community, explore additional funding sources, and create green-collar jobs. Monitor our canopy change over time by continually doing more satellite imagery. Update the tree ordinances, which that's next on our list after the plan's adopted. Measure and report on progress. We'll be doing that once it's approved. Next slide. So our funding needs. We're talking about millions here. With between 17 and 21 million per year, we can bring back citywide tree maintenance. We could plant 3,000 trees a year. We can continue our emergency tree care, and we can invest in public and private partnerships. So you might notice that it says 3,000 trees a year. Earlier I said we'd have to plant around 6,000. There's no way that the city can plant all those on our own. So that's why we're going to put time and effort into working with nonprofit groups and others to help the city meet the goal of planting. They can plant on private property, they can plant elsewhere, all the city can plant on public property. And I also want to take a moment to thank those Rotarians who came out and planted with us in January up on Skyline Boulevard. That support, it means so much to the neighborhood, to us, and to the city as a whole. And also thank you for the water tank that you've recently agreed to purchase for the Trees for Oakland, Oakland Park and Rec Foundation. That's going to be key to making sure these trees survive. So, thank you so much. We hope.
I actually have one, and I have a mic, so I'm going to go first, if it's okay with you, Tom. Ironically, the place is called Oakland. I'm sure everyone sees the irony. So then I ask, if there's a shortfall of about 10 million, where does it come from? How is it that you can claw that money back, and from where?
Well, how we're going to do it? The plan has a couple pages on possible funding mechanisms. Because I'll tell you right now, this is not a problem exclusive to Oakland. Most cities have trouble funding their urban forest. And so based on what other cities have done, such as San Francisco, in 2016, they had a ballot measure called Prop E, where they put on the ballot that the city, or people had to vote for a set aside from the general fund for San Francisco that would pay for all trees and all sidewalk repairs going forward. A tune of, I think it was 19.5 million a year would go towards San Francisco's trees. So that's one way to do it. That's a great example. I'm not saying that's going to happen here, nor will it work here possibly. That's one of many different ways to go about it. Grant funding's another way. Dedicated funding from the city would be ideal, but considering the great budget shortfalls we're experiencing right now, I don't think that the mayor's going to be writing us a check.
Yes, what programs do you have to get rid of or get rid of trees that are actually dangerous in the community? For instance, eucalyptus trees.
So there's a separate vegetation management plan that's done through the fire department, and that it will speak more to the issue with eucalyptus trees up in the hills. Our plan, the urban forest plan, focuses more on trees around houses and in parks and on public property, less so on that, because it's a different management approach. That plan, I think the draft was it's finalized now. It's no longer in draft form. So I recommend checking that out, and that would have more information about eucalyptus and such. I know that they do address it in there, but I don't know off the top of my head what they say.
Please share your name.
CJ Hirschfield. So Measure Q was passed, which brought in a lot of money for park maintenance, et cetera, and I understand people have been hired. Is that totally separate? You can't get those employees to work on what you're talking about?
Unfortunately, that was dedicated only for parks. Some of what parks does overlaps with us, so we can get, I think we were able to get a couple part-time people out of it, but all that money is going towards park maintenance. So unfortunately, yeah, no, it's not going to help us in trees.
I have one question. What was your favorite tree to climb as a kid?
Favorite tree to climb as a kid? Ooh, wow.
Everybody at least had one tree that they climbed as a kid.
I grew up down in Los Angeles, and there was a park down there that had this giant walnut tree, and that was so much fun to climb. We didn't get to go there too often, it's far away, so I usually spent time climbing the crepe myrtle in our front yard. And you know crepe myrtle, it's only like this tall, so yeah, but the walnut for sure.
Hi, I have one question. There has been a lot of investment in downtown Oakland, which is one of the areas that you showed had the least trees. And I was wondering if any of these high-rises and these big real estate companies that have moved in have shown any interest in engaging with the community and contributing to this problem that you've raised today.
So you're asking if some of the big companies down there have helped or have expressed interest? Not yet. Hopefully they will. I'm not sure how that can work. We don't have enough people right now to even begin to try to engage with companies like that. We're hoping that when this plan is passed, it also, if it gets partially funded at least, it'll include more employees in our department. Having that would help us be able to create relationships with them.
I kind of get the not including Joaquin Miller, but it does seem like weird, like the 800-pound tree gorilla to not count it at all. So maybe like talk a little bit more about that. And also then what about things like the trees in the zoo? Were those included? And then of the 12,000 park trees, like around Lake Merritt, does that include within those 12,000? And if so, I'm curious what portion, if you know.
Yeah, so all the trees in the Lakeside Park were included in the inventory. So let me step back and specify. We had the tree inventory done, and we also had satellite imagery done. The satellite imagery captures all the trees, public and private. It includes Nolan Park and Joaquin Miller Park. Within places like Nolan Park and Joaquin Miller Park, we did have people go out and do the hands-on inventorying, which includes taking a tape measure and measuring the tree, writing down exactly where it is. We did that around city facilities. So if you're at Joaquin Miller Park and you're near the ranger station or the community center, all those trees were recorded. But just due to the nature of not knowing how many trees are there, and also the information that's yielded is much more beneficial for your street tree population, where we would need to know if a tree is going to fall down. In Joaquin Miller Park, unless it's right on a trail, if a tree is going to fall down, there's a low risk that it's going to hurt anyone or cause a problem. So that's things you have to balance in terms of your budget and what kind of project money you have.
Tom, do we have one more for Dudley?
No, we have one more from Stephanie online.
Hello there, from Stephanie Casenza on Zoom. Is there no city staff dedicated to maintaining and planting trees?
Not exactly. I squeeze it in when I can. I did say in the presentation that we planted 700 trees with our project. That was a one-off event. And also we planted the 168 trees with many of you in January. That was another one-off event because we had grant funding. But we don't have the materials, the trucks, the supplies that we used to have before 2008. We don't have those anymore. I'll tell you, just from my personal experience, I started in this field working at a nonprofit in San Francisco with Planted Trees. That nonprofit had significantly more resources than the city of Oakland does in terms of tree planting. So when I had to start tree planting, I was like, ooh. We are hoping, though, with funding and approval of the plan, that we can bring that back, because that's a crucial aspect of any urban forest management plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Gordon, and thank you all for being here today. It's customary for our club to make a donation in our guest speaker's name to a charity or cause. And this year, my area of focus is supporting youth and parks and open space in Oakland. So we'll be making a donation in your name to the Friends of Joaquin Miller Park, who strive to make the park more beautiful and accessible to the public while reducing the risk of wildfire. So thank you, Gordon. And thank you all for being with us today. I wanted to also thank our friends on Zoom. So Linda, Stephanie, Steve Nichols, Iris Brody Lopez, I believe, is online too. So thank you all for being here today. Harold. All right. And thank you all for being with us today. Our new red badgers, if you could make your way to the exit and greet people as they leave. And also, if you liked your lunch, if you could vote for it on your way out, please be sure to bus your table. And thank you all for making these generous bell-ringing donations to our Oakland Rotary Endowment. These are tax deductible, so thank you very much. Next week, we have a special, unique workshop. So we're not going to have a ton of announcements next week, but we will have some. But it's going to be with our DEI consultants, and it's around unconscious bias. So this is a very important meeting to me, and so I encourage you all to be here. And also, our DEI committee will also be receiving an award at our district conference for the second year in a row. So we'll recognize them as well next week. So thank you all for being in person, online. Congratulations, Ed Jellin and our DEI committee. This meeting of the Oakland Rotary Club is adjourned. Thank you very much for being here today.